In this video, I'm going to be looking at what I really think overall about dividend investing and really more into whether or not dividend investing can be seen as a passive income stream or even in some cases a full income stream. A lot of people when they're investing, if they're more of a long-term investor or they might be doing it for retirement or might be trying to do it for like a side like income or something like that, and they're trying to figure out whether or not they'll in reality, like in practicality, actually be able to build a big enough portfolio to where they can either live off the dividends or have like a pretty sizable chunk of dividends coming in, whether it be monthly or a few times a year for like a decent amount of income. So in order to do that, I'm going to actually switch the camera view and write it out for you and kind of do a little bit of an outline of what an average investor can see if they're trying to get an income or a side income off of dividends. Okay, so I'm going to try to draw out for you guys and explain real quick on this sheet of paper what you can expect from an average investor from dividend yields and whether or not it's realistic to have them as a full-time income or even a side income. So the S&P 500, if we have this right here, S&P 500, average dividend yield is right around 2.2%. Now that's like pretty average dividend yield. I would consider anything good, like a good dividend yield, anything really above 2% and anything to like 6%, because if you're getting above like 6, 7, 8%, that's probably pretty unrealistic. It's probably not a very sustainable dividend, and there's a good chance that they're only giving that out for a limited time or not for a very long term. So anything from that 2 to 6 range is good, and honestly it's going to be difficult to find things above 4 or 5%, but that are still decent stocks. So let's say at this 2.2% average yield, let's say the yield we'll go with for this example is going to be right around 3%, because I think that's still a pretty realistic yield, but at the same time not too high and not too low. So let's say your portfolio has an average dividend yield of 3%. Now let's say you have $100,000 invested. So you have $100K invested right here in your portfolio, which I don't have nearly $100,000 invested. I only have about $4,000 or $5,000 invested in the stock market right now. But let's say you're 25, 30, 40 years old, you've been investing for a while, you've been saving for a while, and your portfolio has been growing, and you're able to get up to 100K, which honestly, if you have 100K invested, good job. That's a pretty good size portfolio right there. So let's do that times 3%, which is your average dividend yield annually. So that would come to right around $3,000 a year. 100K times 3% is $3,000. And now if we do that divided by 12, which would be monthly, just kind of see like how much money you'd be bringing in per month, that would be right around $250 per month. So $250 per month isn't like a little like side income. I mean, obviously it's not a lot by any means, but definitely isn't like a little amount. You couldn't like live off of that amount or anything like that, and you could, I like myself from my YouTube channel make more than that, and I would consider my YouTube channel a side income. So $250 a month isn't very much, and $3,000 a year is definitely not a lot at all. That's like well below the poverty line, so you could not even come close to living full-time off of that in this example. And really overall you couldn't, I wouldn't even consider that a side income because of how little that is. Maybe starting off you can consider that a side income, but honestly just from dividend yields that would not be one. Let's try another little example here. Let's say you have $1 million, so $1 million portfolio, which honestly, if you have $1 million portfolio, you most likely do not need to live off of dividend yields. So let's say, once again, we have a 3% dividend yield. So 1 million times 3% would be right around 30K a year. So 30K, wow, that was really bad, 30K per year. And now let's do that divided by 12. So once again, trying to figure out how much you'd be getting per month, and that would be right around $2,500 or $2,500 per month. So that is a little bit better. 30K is still pretty close to the United States poverty line. So that's not like a full-time income yet, but that probably could be a like side income. I mean, making an extra $30,000 a year, that is a pretty decent chunk of money right there. But honestly, if you are wealthy enough to have $1 million portfolio, $30,000 probably isn't very much to you, and there's probably a good chance that you're making a lot more money elsewhere. And honestly, it would be extremely difficult for the average person to get anywhere near $1 million. And let's say, you even had $10 million, so you would just add another zero to all these numbers, times 3% equals 300K a year, which would be, obviously quite a bit more. Needed to add another zero there, and then divided by 12 again would be $25,000 a month. So obviously when you're getting up to that range, that would be like a pretty decent amount of money there overall. But honestly, as you can see from this little chart right here, living full-time off of an income or off of a dividend yield probably isn't very realistic. But if you actually had like a pretty decently sized portfolio, it could be realistic to not necessarily live off of it, but it could be somewhat realistic to get a pretty decent passive income stream going, or possibly a little side income stream going. But either way, you would need a very, very sizable portfolio upwards to definitely over $100,000, even maybe more close to the $1 million range over here, to be able to actually live off of dividends. So that is just this little part, guys. I wanted to show you very quickly what I thought about dividend yields and whether or not if you can actually make a livable income on it. So honestly, at the end of the day, you probably can't make a livable income off of dividend yields. You can make maybe a little bit, very, very small amount of side income. But one of the great things with dividend yields, if you're investing in, pretty blue chip, good, reliable stocks, is that there's a good chance they might increase their dividends in the future. So maybe this 3% in a few years can go up to 4 or 5%. And what I do with dividends, I do not use them as a side income or a passive income per se. I just simply reinvest them back into my portfolio. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment below what you think about dividend investing, and if you think it is a reliable way to actually create passive income or even a full-time income. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.